Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times. We gotta get away from here. We gotta get away from here. Just stop your crying, it'll be alright. They tell me that the end is near. We gotta get away from here. And welcome back to StillerBros at the Movies, where today we're talking about the latest movie from Oscar Award nominee Ryan Gosling, Project Hail Mary.
So, this movie is based on a book by Andy Weir, who I think it's safe to say at this point is one of my favorite authors.
Yeah. So, the thing is, we love The Martian, both the movie and the book, and we have now read all three books that Andy Weir has put out. The Martian, Artemis, and now Project Hail Mary, which is, all three are hard sci-fi novels. All three are very much based on factual science, but all three are also very much science fiction in the sense that they are about stuff that just won't happen for a long time at the very least, and in the case of Project Hail Mary, probably won't happen for decades and decades and decades.
We hope anyway.
But we should probably start this off with a spoiler warning, because a lot of people are angry about the way that the trailer presented what was not talked about a lot in the book beforehand and everything like that. So they're a little worried about the pre-release hype getting pushed out. They're kind of mad that what they see as a major spoiler has been pushed into the foreground. But then again, if you're watching a video in which two randos are watching and talking about a movie, then odds are pretty good that you are already aware of what Project Hail Mary is, what it's about, and you probably saw the trailers. Hell, there's a 50-50 chance that you saw the thumbnail for this, and there was the spoiler right in the middle of the picture.
Even though I concede that if something is in the first quarter of the book, it is not a spoiler to put it in the trailer of the movie.
But either way, if you want to go in to Project Hail Mary as blind as you possibly can, click off this video now, go see it with our tentative recommendation, because we obviously haven't seen it yet, and then come back to this video, because we're about to spoil things that were in the trailer, so they should be fair game. But if you've got any problems with that, well, then just know that you're a big spoil sport.
Yes.
Okay, and we're just gonna wait a second. Okay, so Project Hail Mary is a movie about a guy who wakes up in a room with two dead people, unaware of where he is, who he is, how he got there, and eventually through evidence and a series of flashbacks, he puts together the idea that he is a middle school science teacher who has been shot into space to save the sun from dying, and that the two dead bodies are his former crewmates.
And through this, he finds himself face to face with,
well, face to thorax,
at least, or what you could tentatively call a thorax, with an alien creature whom he names Rocky. And the book is like we said a second ago, hard science, but it is an insanely great book. And I was thinking about it all week. It's come to my attention that this particular story, especially the way it's told, there is a way that you can easily screw it up.
Yeah.
Because of the way it's told, where we're getting flashbacks sprinkled in, but we're kind of opening in media res. And these are two kind of different tonal things, where one of them is just bureaucratic stuff in boardrooms with military people, and then the other part is this sci-fi sort of adventure odd couple comedy.
Yeah, because the idea is that it's essentially he runs into this alien who just happens to be in a very similar situation to what he is, and it's just like, I guess we have to work together to save both our planets now.
And even though Andy Weir himself admits that he's not the best in character, I think he's wrong on that front, just because Andy Weir's characters are some of the most detailed and very funny and easy to get behind.
The fact that most of his novels are told in the first person really helps that, but
yeah.
But the important thing is that Project Hail Mary is the latest novel by Andy Weir. Originally, they were gonna make an Artemis movie by now, but
Artemis got its kind of tepid response, so it kind of pushed the movie into sort of development hell right now.
it's delayed. There's a script out there, but the directors of Artemis have latched on to another Andy Weir book, because the directors of this one are always good directors, Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
And it's been 12 years since the last time Phil Lord and Chris Miller have fully directed a live-action film since 22 Jump Street back in 2014, but they have been working the last 12 years on other projects.
Like, they haven't been sitting idle. They have been doing most of their work writing and producing, not directing, and there's been a lot of talk on and off about what the next Lord and Miller thing was going to be until this point.
They've also worked a lot in television, and they worked a lot, of course, on the Spider-Verse movies, mostly because they made a promise to Hayao Miyazaki that they would never stop making animation.
And so they wrote and produced the first two Spider-Verse movies, with the third one on the way, and they wrote and produced the second Lego movie. They produced the other two Lego movie spin-offs before that eventually lost hands at Warner Brothers. But now Lord and Miller are taking their first big swing ever since the Solo debacle way back in 2018.
Yes, but we're excited to see more Lord and Miller, and we're also excited to see a lot of this because it looks amazing. We loved the book, and we've also loved The Martian, Andy Weir's previous adaptation, which one thing that helps this a little bit is that the writer of the previous adaptation, Drew Goddard, is back to write the screenplay for this one.
And as we previously stated, the main stars are Ryan Gosling and a large spider-like rock puppet. They've been kind of trotting around the press junkets as if he's going to be their own personal baby Yoda.
Yeah, it's a puppet voiced and performed by puppeteer James Ortiz, and we're bringing this up mostly because there's not a lot of named stars in this movie other than Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
the only other major part of the movie is played by Sandra Hüller from Anatomy of a Fall,
and even then, if they're going to be as true to the book as we are expecting them to be, she's probably not going to be in it as much as the trailers seem to be implying. The trailers seem to imply that there's a lot more Earthbound action than the book had, because the book, like I said, the book has a lot of flashback sequences that show Ryan Gosling's character's life on Earth as he's eventually going on this mission, but I would call that more of a B plot than an A plot.
Really, the thing about this that makes it challenging is the similarity to The Martian, that this time roughly 50% of the story is just going to be Ryan Gosling. Granted, he has something to work off of with this alien character, but still, when 50% of your screen time is dedicated to just a single actor acting opposite a creature that doesn't have a face.
Yeah, you've got yourself a bit of a challenge. But like I just said, Lord and Miller are always good.
And they've always picked projects to direct that don't seem like they would be easy to work on.
This might be the first project of theirs that actually sounds like a good idea from the get-go.
With the
possible exception of Solo.
But also the possible exception like I said, Ryan Gosling is acting opposite a character that doesn't have a face so they have to do a lot of other body language and other stuff. But
there's also a formula there because The Martian exists, and that movie mostly revolves around Matt Damon kind of just talking to the camera and conveying what he was feeling through his body language and everything like that, as opposed to having a co-star to bounce off of.
Yes.
And yes, we rewatched The Martian in anticipation of this, and we're reminded that it is just that good.
Yeah, but this time around, it's interesting to see what this is going to be. It's gotten such acclaim over the last couple weeks when critics have been seeing it and getting back to people and everything.
And yeah, we loved the book. The movie is by two filmmakers who we truly trust with whatever you put in front of them, considering the fact that they've taken such enormous risks in their career that it's almost ridiculous that they've been able to get away with making such great movies so far.
And it has an actor who we very much like seeing in movies.
Whether it be Barbie, The Fall Guy, or The Nice Guys, which, please, guys, if there's ever an opportunity for us to get a sequel to that, could we please do something about that?
We saw that in theaters. We want to see more of that.
Please! High-pitched Ryan Gosling scream needs to be on more theater screens. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, we're hopeful for what Project Hail Mary has for us, and we are going to continue to be hopeful as we walk into that theater. So, see you after the jump. All right, so we went in with the expectation that it was going to be a great movie, and it was a great movie.
Yeah.
Let it not be said that Lord and Miller have one of the greatest hit rates of directors in Hollywood working today.
Yeah.
Because these guys have somehow been able to direct 5 movies, and every single one of them is great.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, this is one of the few ones that isn't somehow a deconstruction on its own premise.
Yeah.
Which is uncharted ground for Lord and Miller, because just about every other movie they've made is somehow a deconstruction on the premise that they've been put forward with.
Yeah. But really what makes this movie work is just there's a lot of heart to it.
Yeah. For a movie that's about hopelessness in a lot of ways, there's heart, and just the fact that Ryan Gosling can perform with a puppet for most of the movie. He's basically working alongside a puppet, and we're following him, and we just understand every emotion that he's feeling, every emotion that Rocky is feeling. This movie really understands at the heart of this novel that there is no room for cynicism.
No. And that's kind of what makes this movie great, is that it shows a cynicism, but there isn't. But in the book, the cynicism melts away, and we get this amazing friendship out of it. And we gotta give it up to James Ortiz, because Rocky is the heart and soul of this movie. If he doesn't work, this doesn't work at all.
And the fact that we are able to see Rocky perform both as an actual character and as essentially just like a dog. Like, sometimes he'll act as a complete equal to Ryland Grace. Other times, because there's a cultural barrier between the two characters, he will have to act like an excitable toddler or a dog or something. And all in all, the fact that these two characters work off of each other as well as they do is a testament to how James Ortiz is as a puppeteer and how Ryan Gosling is as an actor.
Yeah.
And the fact that Lord and Miller are able to pull it all together
with their amazing effects team, which made this beautiful movie, which throwing extra praise to Greg Fraser, the cinematographer. But then again, this is the guy who shot the first 2 Dune movies, the Denis Villeneuve Dune movies, so of course it's gonna look amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that you can tell that a lot of the spaceships and everything else like that were practical. Like, not like they actually shot spaceships into space and everything like that, but like they built models of the ships and put them in front of the stagecraft technology from The Mandalorian to make it as though they are in space.
Yeah, they've stated there's no green screens, but that doesn't mean that there's no CGI or anything. They had an effects team with hundreds of CGI shots that they needed to make.
And every CGI shot looks incredible. The views from Earth, this is basically what if Lord and Miller made 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Pretty much.
And through it all, you've got Daniel Pemberton at his most bombastic score.
Yeah.
And of course, little things like the aspect ratio change between the Earth scenes and the space scenes.
Yeah, they shot this for IMAX, and you can tell because of
we didn't see it in an IMAX theater. We could just tell that this is going to look amazing in IMAX just from the fact that the aspect ratio when we change from an Earth scene to a space scene is very obvious.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're kind of going into it, and another thing that we love to praise is the fact that if you are a fan of the books, it's all there.
It's not an exact one-for-one adaptation of the book.
No, obviously Drew Goddard took liberties when it comes to stuff like dialogue, but basically every single scene is there in some form or another.
And Andy Weir was a producer on this, so obviously all the changes were approved by the author.
So, but basically, if you were looking for a one-to-one adaptation, you're going to be slightly disappointed. But if you were looking for an adaptation that perfectly covers every plot point, every scene is there in some form or another, with the addition of new scenes that kind of humanize characters that it felt like just did not have that humanization element to them. Like, Lionel Boyce from The Bear is in this movie, and he plays a character who I swear to God was only in like maybe 2 pages in the book.
Yeah, he was a character that was mentioned. I don't remember if he had any dialogue in the book. We read the book a month ago, so we're not retaining all the information.
But the fact is that this character shows up and has actual human moments, not like this guy helped Grace with the experiments and everything like that. It's just this guy actually is allowed to have dialogue and human moments, and he's allowed to be a character.
And Sandra Hüller as Strat, a character in the book that throughout the book you have complicated feelings for, and strangely enough, she's more likable in the movie, and it's probably because of Sandra Hüller's performance.
And definitely because the movie allows itself to have more scenes to make it clear that this is not just some woman who has been pulled into this and is on some kind of power trip or is just not thinking about the human factor. You can definitely tell that this character has emotions, but she's pushing them aside because she has been given this job, this very important job, and letting emotion get in the way is the kind of thing that could cause everything to fail on her end.
That's kind of the thing with an adaptation, is that in a book, especially a book that is written in the first person from the perspective of a character, you can't exactly get certain elements of a character. But when you're adapting it into a movie, you can, through an actor, you can see subtle emotions in the way an actor portrays the character.
And yeah, I think it really works in the fact that we are allowed to see every other character that isn't Grace through the eyes of the all-seeing camera. It's plus the additions to make the movie a little more visually and audibly interesting are, they're welcome, because it would be nice to not have to read a screen, which is shown in the scene where Grace actually starts picking Rocky's voice.
Yeah, but all in all, I had a fun time. I enjoyed this movie. It is such a trip. It is an amazing movie. I can't say it's the best movie we've seen all year because the year is still very new.
But it might end up in our top 10, maybe, depending on what else we see throughout the year.
Yeah.
But around this time last year, we were seeing Sinners, so sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Project Hail Mary is another fantastic movie from Lord and Miller. It's another fantastic adaptation of Andy Weir's works. Let's hope that this is the kind of thing that will make studios suddenly realize, hey, there's an Andy Weir book we haven't touched yet. Let's make that.
Yeah, because we'd love to see Artemis coming up.
Especially since that one is so different from The Martian and Project Hail Mary.
Or even seeing the adaptation of Cheshire's Crossing get off the ground.
But for right now, that's it. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave in the comments what you may or may not have thought of Project Hail Mary, and be sure to tune in next time when I think it looks like trash. Bye.
I like where your head's at, sweetheart. That really could have worked out.